I proposed a question: was Zelda delayed because of the NX, or was the NX delayed because of Zelda? And at the time, I was thinking Zelda just wasn't going to be ready, and that's why. But I've since changed my mind. I had a
Hmm.
theory, which I brought up on the AGL podcast. I'm going to ask you guys. I'm going to first give the theory, and I want to get your guys' take on it. So this will be something where I don't really have a clue how you guys feel about this. So basically, what I thought after really hearing other people's opinions and then thinking about it, I came to the conclusion that if they release Zelda on Wii U this holiday, that's gonna bolster Wii U sales, and with their projections of 800,000, and the fact that there's really no other games past the Tokyo Mirage Sessions and maybe Paper Mario, we don't even know. I just have this theory that Nintendo just doesn't want to have to manufacture any more Wii U's. I think they just whatever they have left, that's what they're rolling with, and it was like maybe that was part of it, and then they're like, well, if we release Zelda, people are going to want to buy the Wii U. They're not going to want to wait 4 months, even if they know there's an NX. There's going to be people that go out and buy Zelda and go buy a Wii U for Zelda. And A, they'd have to possibly manufacture more Wii U's to meet the demand. And B, 4 months later, oh, yeah, any new Wii U owners, I'm sorry, but the system's done. Here's our next system. And I don't think they wanted to slap gamers or consumers in the face like that. And to me, that makes you release Zelda NX and Wii U simultaneously, then you're not going to have somebody go out and buy a Wii U to play Zelda if they can just buy the NX. But the people that don't want to buy an NX that have a Wii U can still buy the game. So I think, to me, it just came like into my head like there's no other option. That has to be what it is. So I guess I'll get your guys' take. Do you think there's a chance that they don't want to manufacture more Wii U's, and that's had more to do with it than I think Rob, your theory was they didn't want to take away from NX sales by
Yeah, I feel
having an
like
old Zelda
releasing.
game.
Yeah, I definitely think they just. The thing is, I do agree with what you're saying, though. That's to me that theory of not wanting to manufacture Wii U's for the sake of a Wii U Zelda is just one of many reasons why I think they decided to do this. But I definitely don't think it was a matter of delaying it for the game. I think it was. I think that there's a lot of reasons why they don't want to manufacture Wii U's. Also, I think
Yeah,
that
because
that's almost a given.
the cost hasn't come down. The cost has actually gone up.
Exactly. Like, I
So
mean, with all these signs pointing to, the sad death of the Wii U, and 2016 seems to be it. The next generation starts next year. New Zelda's going to come out that same time. Like, there's just so many reasons not to manufacture Wii U's, and one of them is that Zelda reason. And I think if they release the Wii U Zelda early, on top of your theory, they end up potentially cannibalizing the Zelda NX sales, and cannibalizing sales of the NX version of Zelda potentially cannibalizes sales of the NX. So I think it's all just a big cycle where Zelda for Wii U could probably be done in November, no problem. The NX is not going to be ready till March. That's when you release all three products, I think. So it all
yeah,
kind
because
of
that was
relates
what
into
I
it
was saying at the time was like, there's just no reason for the Wii U version at that point.
to be
But
delayed.
I think they're just doing it just to say so people can't say, well, I'm a Wii U owner, I'm not getting the NX, and now you've been
Screwing
promising
me
this
over.
game. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
think
they've been promising it for too long.
it's a save
So
face type of situation for still releasing the Wii U version.
yeah,
But I don't know that it would. I think people would the diehards would actually they'd buy both versions more than likely if they did the staggered launch. They're not going to get that nearly as much of that. Release them on the same time because I mean, who's going to go out and buy both versions if
true.
if the NX one looks really good or something? I might buy the Wii U version and 4 months later say, you know what, I'm getting the NX. I might as well get it down the road or
Yeah, but
whatever.
think about the excitement level of the first time you or anyone is playing Zelda is on the NX. It's
Yeah.
like you have your brand new system, your brand new wacky fucking controller, whatever that thing's gonna do, and then here's your brand new shiny next gen copy of Zelda 2, and that's the first time anyone's played it. No reviews have come out. None of your friends have been playing it on the Wii U for months, and you have been waiting. It's like new to the world with the NX. That's just too exciting,
It
and
is
it's why I
exciting,
think
but I
it's
did.
what it's why I think just last point real quick is the whole people brought up the whole the release date for the Wii U Zelda disappeared to just 2017. I think there's maybe nothing to that, but I also think they might end up doing exactly what Twilight Princess did,
Yep.
and the last gen version actually gets pushed back a few months. And the
That's
NX version is the first to come out.
that's what I was thinking when I saw that. But
Oh my god,
um,
crazy.
so I guess Robert or Terrell, what do you
Well,
think?
okay. Well, I'll give my opinion. Um, I don't necessarily agree with the manufacturing reason, and particularly, well, I will say this: before you had mentioned it, I thought they were making a profit off of Wii U's. I didn't think they were still selling them at a loss.
Well, Iwata made a point like last year saying that their production costs, they were talking about a price drop, and he said the production costs haven't gone down. The yen, the exchange rate was like ridiculous. That was actually, they said it. The wording they used was it was making it a challenge for them to do a price drop. So they decided to include a game like a digital copy, just kind of get the value down in gamers' eyes, like to make the value more appealing. And basically said it was just too challenging. That was their wording, for getting a price drop. To me, that means production costs were not going down. So
Okay. Well, my thought process is that I think they've learned how the Wii was selling, and they've learned just through probably 2014. I think 2014 was that year where they were like, everything, all the straight bangers came out, and the console still didn't move anything, and they know nothing they could have this year will probably do that, considering nothing else has. Like, if Mario Kart and Smash and Bayonetta and other games like that couldn't move the units, I think they're realistically going, it's probably just not gonna move shit.
yeah,
And they're probably just gonna have a lot of smaller niche titles, if anything else. Because that's the thing, we don't know there won't be any other Wii U games announced, but if there are, I already have in my mind there'll probably be lower tier titles. That's what I meant to say. But as far as them pushing it back because they don't want to make any more Wii U's, I think that's partially true. I think, but my reasoning is more so, if you notice in Japan, the sales went down drastically, and it was partially because you couldn't find. It's actually gotten to the point in Japan where you can't even find the Wii U. It's just weird, and it was like in that moment I was like, well, they're not really manufacturing anymore, and they've been consistently low ever since. Like, if you look at Japan's like Media Crate numbers, they always got like low Wii U numbers now. And I think it's just because they have no intention of restocking it. Now, I don't inherently believe that that's the reason why Zelda was pushed back. I think honestly, it's a smarter business decision to release Zelda with the NX and the Wii U version come out either at the same time or around the same time, pretty much putting the priority on the NX version. The problem I have is that I can't fully commit to it because I need to see what state the Wii U version is in. That will tell me, personally, if it was for the sake of the console or if the game isn't ready. Now, as I said, I'm leaning towards they just want to sell the NX, and that's why they're not worrying about. That's not they don't want to bring out the Wii U version. But like when I look at it logistically, I'm like, I kind of need to see where the Wii U version is at.
yeah, because I mean,
E3.
there is a chance that the prospect of an extra 4 months development time was like with Enuma was like, yes, that would be awesome.
But yeah, I'm
And
sure you'd never
so
turn down more time.
working on it until the right up until the end. It's not like, I mean, there's also a chance they're going to be done with it in October, like they were planning or something. If they were planning, let's just hypothetically, and they could just say, all right, we'll start on the next game or something. But I think they're still going to be tweaking it and working on it. But yeah, that's a good point. Seeing at E3, we'll see the what form it's in. If it looks like a pretty much done game, then we'll know that it's just strategic. And
I bet it's going to look pretty done.
And the only other reason is also because Kimishima, because people think the March release for the NX and granted, I'm not saying it's not due to the physical year stuff, but you also got to remember one of the things they mentioned is like, why is it releasing in March? We want a steady stream of games. Mm-hmm. Well, you can use the ports, and probably the other Wii U ports will end up getting later on, as padding for the beginning, and then have the rest of the year be padded out with actual like new games and such. So to me, it's like, well, why wouldn't you start the year off? Why wouldn't you start off a new console with a new Zelda coming out, like a brand new Zelda that no one's ever touched? I feel like releasing the Wii U version early would be. I feel like they're willing to take the hit from the Wii U fandom for the sake of the future of the NX, because they understand that that I think Nintendo has learned over the past few years that brownie points don't mean shit. Like a lot of people go, oh well, their E3 was cool for the Treehouse and it was cool. The digital event was done pretty well. It was paced well and all this other stuff. They got all this praise, especially in 2014's E3, and then like it didn't translate to shit. Oh, we did the Nintendo World Championships and the Smash Brothers Invitational. Didn't do shit. And so I'm like, I think they're just like, well, look, brownie points don't mean shit anymore. So I rather just take. I think they're just like, we rather just take the hit from gamers being like, oh look, they're doing ports like every other company, and look at their money rise instead of being like, oh, we like the way you did that Treehouse, and then their money just fucking drops.
Yeah. Robert, you got anything to add?
Kind of just the same with all you guys said, basically, that I feel like that Zelda was delayed mainly because it is a strategic move. They want gamers to buy the NX version, not the Wii U version. That would ultimately make the most sense, because then it would move NX hardware and stop moving Wii U hardware if anyone would buy the Wii U. But
yeah, I need to see what the NX version is before. I'm still Wii U at this point. I don't
really
till I see something.
Yeah, that's the other
controller or something for the NX.
Yeah, because that
was
the
other thing you gotta have to factor in. You don't know if it's just a straight port or if the NX is gonna have any extra features or not.
Yeah, because that's true. Because at the same time, because you know how they're saying that the gamepad is gonna be used a lot for the Wii U, with Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean the what's it called? The NX is gonna have like a controller with a screen on it? Stuff.
That's kind of the big question, and
yeah,
it's
it
why
doesn't mean that.
It's why, like I said, I feel pretty good that the gamepad will probably be backwards compatible.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's gonna, like, most people I've talked to are like, oh, I'm NX one all the way. I'm like, dude, if there ain't no second screen and my map's not on my game on a second screen, I said I'm getting the Wii U version.
Juice ain't having it.
So, but yeah, the other part of the news was the E3 stuff, which we'll talk about. Since we're talking about Zelda, though, I just want to get your guys' take, or a guess, I guess. What do you think Zelda's playable form will be? Do you think it will just be, here's, basically the game, it's open world, play around with it, or do you think it's going to be more like in the past, where like, oh, here's a boss fight here, here's a puzzle area here? Like, what do you think the playable form is going to be? Because it's kind of a big, open world game. It's kind of weird to have a demo for that type of game. So what are you expecting, Rob? I guess I'll go to you. What are you expecting the playable form to be?
That's a really good question that I hadn't thought about, and I feel like if it was any other year, I would expect it to be something kind of similar to what it's been, where it's like, here's a very specifically designed section or just a boss fight or just a path with some enemies to try out whatever the new functions and gamepad or NX controller or whatever. But since we're at the point where the game is such a massive focus of their show, it's the only thing we know about so far, and we know it's the only playable game, I feel like they have to have something fairly substantial. And you bring up a good point, like it's like an open world game, so what do they do? And I don't really know what they do. I feel like they could either just have like a very specific section of the map blocked off, like think of like how Hyrule Field is in Twilight Princess. Imagine if they had just like one section of Hyrule Field. In that game, there's not a whole lot going on in those sections, but in this game, there could be a lot of stuff to do and to look at. So they maybe just give you a blocked off section. And knowing Nintendo, they probably have something where like, oh, there's one section of the game where you control like a cannon attached to a contraption that's rolling around a train track around and you're going to do that and use the new controls for like this quirky section of the game that does something neat. So they'll probably have something like that set up. That's my guess.
All right, Terrell or Robert, what do you guys got anything?
I think it's going to be the fact that they're putting such a huge focus on Zelda, because the problem is there's a lot of theories going around saying, is the only reason why they're putting a huge focus on Zelda because we don't know anything, or is it because that's the only thing they really have that's worth a damn to show? to me, the demo will kind of tell you also, because if the demo is open world and they're letting you play around with it, then that tells me that they really want to show Zelda off. If it's like a restricted demo, probably means it's the only thing they had to show. And they're just kind of like, well, we're just going to do it the way we always do it. But I think, if I had to take a guess, I would say it's going to be the more open world. The fact that Anuma wants to stress how this is going to shake up the formula and this won't be just another traditional Zelda, I'm more inclined to believe it's the open. We're going to get like an open world. Hey, look, we're going to drop you in the middle of the world. Go have fun. Just have fun with it. That also depends on whether or not how done the game is. Because if the game isn't done, you're going to run into an awkward situation where it's going to be like that Uncharted 4 demo where there's a glitch and be like, oh, shit.
Well, the game world existed since 2014. Like, the game, that world, the Hyrule, the game world's there. Like, the only thing they had to add was things to do and fill it in with different things, but the game world exists, so I'd be shocked if they didn't just say, here you go, run around. Like, how could they limit where you go? Because there's no load times, there's no borders. So I don't know.
Yeah, and it could be something where the game is obviously going to be so massive. It's like, we doubt you're going to run into anything that's a spoiler. But
and it could have a time limit. It could have a time limit.
I don't
could
even
be a time limit.
I'm more afraid of glitches than time limit. I'm more afraid of it being a situation because I've noticed Nintendo games don't have glitches in their E3 demos except for maybe Skyward Sword, which is more of a technical issue because of I think interference.
And that was only on stage. That was only on stage.
It worked that was just for infrared, but
yeah.
So, to me, it would be weird to have this big open world game and just have these, you click on one of 4 predetermined levels, if you will, or something that, like a boss fight where you're just all of a sudden at the boss fight. I know they've done that in past games, but they've never been this open world, and I'm trying to think of other open world games that had demos.
How they've done that, like a Grand Theft Auto or something. I mean, I think they could still do, kind of my theory was that there was a combination of both, where here's a huge section of the world that you can play through and do whatever you want and find whatever you want for 15 or 20 minutes, but then also here's a boss section, here's an early boss, here's a unique control section or a unique mechanic section. Like, they're going to want to show off some of the features beyond just run around in the grass for 20 minutes. They have to have something more specific and exciting to show. So I think they could do literally both in some way.
Yeah, because it'd be like the joy of this game is just exploring and running, taking advantage of this.
But
huge
that doesn't
world.
that doesn't write articles. You want IGN to be like, oh, we did this, and the new controls are great when you're trying to fight this crazy thing and this. So that's why they have to have something more than that, I think.
That's why I asked, because I think it's going to be an interesting. It's just an interesting thought. Like, what if you were Anuma? Like, well, obviously we don't know what the game is, but it's like, what would you want to show? So, Robert, you got any thoughts on what do you think a playable?
Well, I know that for instance, at Comic-Con they had a Just Cause 3 demo there, right? Mm-hmm. And they let you kind of just do whatever. Like, they just placed you in the game, but I'm sure it is way more developed than what Zelda's probably going to be.
I don't know. I think Zelda's pretty much
Zelda's
done.
Probably pretty far along, yeah.
But Nintendo might only show, I don't know, because for instance with Just Cause 3 they just put you wherever and you could go wherever and you could take down stuff. If you wanted to go to one side of the map you could, if you wanted to go to the other side you could. So in my opinion they probably will do that with Zelda. They'll just place you in the map, have a time limit, right? And then you just, again, like you guys were saying, another section of like the booth would have like, oh, here's a boss and here's just the dungeon, maybe without the boss, or you don't want to play with the boss, you could just want to see the dungeon, or if you just want to play the boss and just the boss, here's that, just to kind of section it off for each section of the game, really. And I think that's how they're going to do it. They're going to let you kind of have complete freedom of what you want to do, whether it be roaming, battling, or exploring puzzles and stuff like that. That's
you bring up a good point with the Just Cause thing, but it is a little bit different because with Just Cause, like, the literal only purpose of that game is to have that chain whip thing and have a bunch of
Yeah.
guns and just blow shit up as you
The
go from A to B.
explosions.
And, which is great, totally great.
Yeah.
Zelda is, yes, it's exploring the world, but I think it's also going to be like the story, the lore, the puzzle solving, finding dungeons and things like that. So it's a little bit, while I still think you're right, I think it's a little bit trickier for them. Hence, I think Terminator, why you asked the question of how you do that in a Zelda demo when it's the only game that people can play on your show floor.
Yeah, and you don't know like what's gonna happen when you walk up. How are cutscenes? How's the story gonna progress? Like
Yeah.
maybe they'll show like a beginning, like you talk to somebody, you go talk, you need to go over here, and you talk to that somebody, and cutscenes and whatever happen. So we don't know exactly how the story is going to work in this open world. So maybe they'll show that.
I think they will, because when you bring that up, it actually reminds me of how they showed that first Girahim battle from Skyward Sword, and they showed the cutscene that led up to it, where the first time they have like a dialogue back and forth, and Girahim's he does the weird sticking his tongue thing out next to Link's face.
Oh, yeah.
That was part of the E3 demo that gamers were playing through on the show floor. They would see that. So they might still do something similar, because part of this blowout has to be the story. Like the title. We're going to know the title, right? Like, should we place bets on what the title is going to be?
Yeah. A Time of Battles. The Legend of Zelda.
Oh,
the Battle of
God.
Time. No, yeah, the Battle of Time. That's a. Or
Legend
no.
of Zelda and the musical instrument of importance.
Well, yeah, because don't they have a book?
It's
Right,
it's not a book. It's stone.
It's a stone?
And
It looks
the-
like a book.
It looks like a book, except when you look
yeah.
at it. Oh wait, somebody did point out that it could potentially be a book, but at the bottom portion, there's like almost like a trigger, like the bow has, like that light arrow. I mean.
Whoa, that's weird.
Oh.
Yeah. Look at the actual.
Yeah, I
new-
want to. I gotta see.
Go to
Oh,
the-
I got it.
look
I know
right
what
now.
it's going to be called. The Legend of Zelda and the Horse That Hits No Trees.
That could be it, but yeah, go to the new illustration, and
Let's
you'll
see.
see it, and clearly that's